What outrageous demands have your relatives made? 1. A relative told me they wanted to buy my house but didn't have the money to pay for it right away. They suggested that I transfer the ownership to them first, and in the meantime, I could keep living there but would need to pay them rent every month. Once the rent added up to the cost of the house, they would then give me the money for the house. 2. It's not about money. I had only been married for a little over a year, and my wife was nearly 3 months pregnant when her aunt, a distant relative, so distant that I'm not even sure how we're related, suggested that my wife go on a blind date with her boss's son. If it weren't for my wife stopping me, I would have seriously lost my temper. 3. Someone in my village heard that I was studying computer programming and asked if I could write a software program to transfer money from the bank into their account. I was stunned into silence for a good 3 minutes before I could even respond. 4. It wasn't a relative but my own father who asked me to take out a high-interest loan to help his friend with some financial trouble. After I hung up the phone, I took a leave of absence from work, bought a train ticket, and went home. If my mom hadn't stopped me, I would have cracked my dad over the head with something. After pressing him, I found out he had already borrowed $10,000 from my aunt to help his friend. I dragged him to his friend's house, got the money back, and returned it to my aunt. I also gave my aunt a piece of my mind. She's a widow, and her only son had died suddenly at 30. Instead of guarding her savings, she risked it all to help my dad's friend, absolutely reckless. That evening, I called all the relatives, telling them that my dad had fallen for a pyramid scheme and warned them not to believe anything he said about money. If they got tricked, they could deal with it themselves. I wasn't getting involved. I took the early morning train back to work. This happened in 2015, and I had only been working for a few years at the time. As my mom put it, she had never seen me so angry, cursing so loudly, and I even smashed 2 cups. She said I was no longer the obedient child she knew, but at least she wasn't worried about me getting bullied while living alone anymore. 5. Can it count if a relative didn't even ask but just took what they wanted? One of my cousins got married, and at the reception that night, he drank too much and was carried back to his new bedroom by a few people. The next morning, he woke up to find his $200,000 Patek Philippe watch missing. He reported it to the police and posted about it on social media. A few days later, I heard from my dad that another relative had taken the watch while my cousin was passed out on his wedding night. The relative returned it to him, jokingly saying, "I just thought your watch looked nice and wanted to borrow it for a few days, but I forgot. So why did you have to report it to the police?" So if my cousin hadn't reported it, were you planning to forget about it forever? 6. This happened to my cousin. One of my uncles needed money for his business and asked my cousin to lend him some. My cousin replied, "I don't have any money." My uncle immediately said, "Then go to the bank and get a loan." My cousin responded, "Why don't you go to the bank for a loan?" He answered, "Because I'd have to pay it back." My cousin hung up the phone. Later, he called me asking for money. I told him I was abroad and couldn't lend money to someone in the US. He said, "Then ask your friends or classmates to lend me the money." I replied, "My friends and classmates in the US are all paying off mortgages. They don't have any money." He then said, "Well, tell them to mortgage their houses for a loan." I asked, "Why don't you mortgage your own house?" He replied, "If I mortgage the house, where will I live?" I blocked him right after that. 7. My second cousin asked to borrow my passport. She said she needed it to secure a loan, and the money would be used to repay the debt she owed my family. 8. A relative asked to borrow $80,000. I replied somewhat sarcastically, "Sure, I'll sell my new house, then sell my new car, and if I hold off on getting married, I can use the dowry to make up the rest." He replied, "Great. You should be able to get the money together in a week, right?"